Roll call.
Here. Here. Here.
Zittergren?
Yeah, whoever was calling the roll wasn't on the mic. I'm here.
Yep, that's me. Apologize. Chisel,
Here.
Hadley,
Here.
Neal.
Here. Okay, is there anybody who wants to approach and speak to the council on anything that's not on the agenda? Step up, state your name and address.
My name is Thomas Hanson, 3469 Locust Road. Last year, when we had a couple individuals that spray painted anti-LGBTQ stuff on some buildings here in Decorah, the outcry happened right away that we need to support the community. You flew the flags for extra times up on the flagpoles on the street. And I heard a constant drumbeat from people that this is the kind of hatred that the Club 45 spreads. And when it became known that the two individuals that spray painted this on the buildings were actually minority members and they came from liberal families, the story disappeared from the news. And we've heard nothing since. The city then took me to task on flying flags on your city property, expressing my freedom of political speech. You spent thousands of dollars on a court case, and you tried to limit my free speech. You wanted to take it away. You lost that court case, and then when I came here to express my next step in filling out a special events form and challenging your flag policy on that way, I'll come to find out that the special events form has been changed and you can no longer request flags for your special event. Now we have the incident up at Chattahoochee Park on June 6th. If this had been a Republican elected official, there would be a never-ending drumbeat for his resignation because of their immoral and despicable acts. And we have heard nothing. There has been no resignation. There's been nothing said anywhere about this. I quite frankly am sick and tired of this city's council's hypocritical, two-tiered justice system based on somebody's political affiliations. And I call for Mr. Zittergrun's resignation for his participation in what happened at Chattahoochee Park. I think it is deplorable, and I think Mr. Zittergrun needs to resign immediately. Thank you.
Okay. On with consent agenda.
A, minutes of the July 15th, 2024 council meeting and June 22nd, 2024 council meeting. B, claims. C, renewal of special class C retail alcohol license Pizza Hut. D, renewal of special class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service Luther College Center for Faith and Life. E, renewal of class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service Impact Coffee. F, renewal of Class E retail alcohol license, Quick Trip 306 College Drive. G, renewal of Class E retail alcohol license, Walmart. H, renewal of Class B retail alcohol license, Oneota Community Cooperative. And I, tax abatement 556 Mossman Drive, Dalen, new construction.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Parker seconds.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Parker. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Neal. Aye. Hadley,
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Miscellaneous.
Aye.
Zittergren.
Aye.
Motion carried. Conduct public hearing on plans, specs, estimate of costs, and form of contract for Dry Run Creek WQI Wetland Project. John, I think you're bringing that to our attention?
Right. I'll just stand here at the podium so the virtual audience can hear also. On June 11th, or excuse me, July 11th, the bid was received for the Dry Run Creek Watershed Improvement Project. This project is not in the city limits. It's outside of the city limits along the Dry Run Trail. It's basically in the backyard of like Wicks Construction or John Deere, if you're thinking about that area. And the purpose of where we are acting as the administrative agent for that project, it's going to be owned and managed by the Winnebago County Conservation, but we were able to use that grant for other projects within the city limits. And ultimately, it's going to help the Dry Run watershed with limiting the amount of runoff that occurs there. And so it's a good thing for Decorah. 6 bids were received. One was deemed non-responsive because it did not acknowledge an addendum. So 5 bids were read. The engineer's estimate was $272,000. The low bid was $174,993.93, and which is 36% below the engineer's estimate. So I summarized basically everything for both points 5 and 6, just to save on time. So if you have any questions about the plans and specifications,
Just stay there. Just stay there a minute. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak at this public hearing? Okay. I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution approving the plans, specs, estimate of a cost, and form of contract for Dry Run Creek Wetland Project.
Hadley will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Olson. Questions? Hearing seen none. Roll call.
Hadley.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Miscellaneous, sorry.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Zittergren.
Aye.
Motion pass. Conduct public hearing on plans, specs, estimate of cost, form of contract for Decorah 2024 Quarry Street improvements. Do you want to just give background on that first, and then I'll open the public hearing?
sure.
Okay.
So just a summary of what the project is. Quarry Street had undergone a number of repairs over the course of many years. It's the street that's over by Quick Start, just off of College Drive. What we are proposing on doing is sawing and removing the interior lanes of concrete and asphalt that have been build up over the years, and putting in new asphalt street and using as much of the existing concrete curb and gutter as possible. Project would start at College Drive and would continue on to where the new asphalt or more recent asphalt has been laid about 1,000 feet east. If you think about there's a townhome or a duplex that's there, and that's basically the length of the project.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to this item? Hearing seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution on plans, specs, estimate of costs, and form of contract for Decorah 2024 Quarry Street improvements.
Sure. And to summarize that, there were two bids that were received on August 1st. The engineer's estimate was $179,000. The low bid came in at $167,361.54, which is 6% below the engineer's estimate.
I'd make a resolution to approve the low bid.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Any further discussion?
John, does this include sidewalk?
There is
Or a
some
walk
sidewalk
lane?
that is there. Right now, it's a kind of Quick Start installed a sidewalk.
Right.
And it goes and kind of ends in a grassy area. Further on the existing newer asphalt, there's a dedicated pedestrian bike lane, and we're going to connect.
Continue you're going to continue the bike lane and indicate it that way?
I don't know that I could call it a bike lane exactly because there's nothing coming the other direction, but it's
A
it's
one side
use.
multimodal path?
It's just basically a white stripe that goes.
Yes,
over
there will
that
be a-
designates that with the walk.
Yeah.
It'll either be sidewalk or striped off on the asphalt road. Much like what you have right now.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
Chisel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Neal. Aye. Parker,
Aye.
Miscellaneous.
Aye.
I'm butchering you tonight. I
You'll get used to it.
Chris.
He also goes by Christopher.
Miscellaneous. Okay. Consider resolution accepting the recommended ranking of responses to the Dalen property development request for qualifications and directing the city manager to negotiate a scope of services agreed with ISG. And Mark, are you working with that tonight? Well, step right up to the microphone.
Did you get a chance to go into Dropbox and catch that? Okay. All right, so a little background. 2 years ago, Iowa changed law on the RFQ process.
Hmm.
And it's to evaluate strictly on qualifications. And we ranked the three firms, and we'll negotiate, or the request is to negotiate with the highest ranking firm by score. And the criteria is experience with similar projects, technical expertise and innovation, understanding of local needs, design quality and creativity, and project timeline and management. There are different weighted aspects to this as referenced on the sheet. And so after ranking, it was ISG that came out number one in the ranking.
Design quality and creativity to me to somewhat seems subjective. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't. However, I assume you were one of the panelists who were reviewing.
Correct.
In your opinion, what made ISG stand out in their presentation for design quality and creativity that the others were lacking? Because that number is, there's a larger divide there between that one and some of the other metrics. Can you just give us a little more?
I think with the variety of projects that they had and working with different conditions, you could see more of the creativity, also problem solving too, throughout one community in particular, really. So a variety of different project designs and being creative with the existing conditions. So
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mark?
Hadley will make a
you.
motion to accept the resolution for the, to accept the scoring response response ranking of responses to the Dalen property as proposed.
Miss Lineage will second.
Motion made by Adeline, second by Ms. Lineage. Any other further discussions?
I was part of the committee that oversaw this review of the RFQs. And while there was 8 firms that submitted an RFQ for this, and all 8 of them, I think we could have thrown them in a basket and picked one out, and they would all been good firms that we could have gone with. Personally, I didn't have ISG ranked the top, but like I said, I think all of them were good firms, and I don't think we could go wrong with any of the picks, so I would be in favor of the ISG.
I would just say I appreciate those that served on the committee. And the information in Dropbox was really thorough. So it was easy to see like how you come up with your idea. I really like the scoring matrix. So thank you for everyone who served on that committee and did the hard work. Thank you.
I did read through all of them. They were extremely professionally done. And I was glad I wasn't on the
I
committee.
thought the same thing, actually. When I started reading them, I'm like,
So I appreciate the work that was done by the committee. Okay, roll call.
Hadley,
Aye.
Miss Lineage,
Aye.
Neil,
hi.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. 10 is consider resolution providing notice of intent to fill a council vacancy by appointment. The next one also is similar, but I want some background from John.
Yeah.
First of all, I'll just let you do it.
So
I'm going to do my, inner Travis and say, John.
10 and 11 are obviously related, and you wouldn't pass both of them. So it may be worth considering having some discussion up front about this. But when there is a vacancy on the council has 2 options: to either fill the vacancy by appointment or to fill the vacancy by special election. Now, if they fill the vacancy by appointment, the council has to give notice to the public of its intent to fill the vacancy. And from there, the council may make the appointment after the notice is published or after the vacancy occurs, whichever is later. So now that the council knows about Ross's resignation effective September 1st, they can take action on moving forward immediately. The appointment wouldn't become effective until after that vacancy actually occurs and becomes effective. But if the council decides to go with an appointment after publishing notice, the public still has the option to request a special election. And if the council goes ahead with the appointment, it's a temporary appointment until that special election occurs. Other than the notice requirement, there is no required procedure for identifying a candidate for appointment. In the past, the council, I think I look back at 2019 when Dan Bellrichard resigned, the council did have a very brief application, which basically, name, address, brief biography, and work history. If the council goes with filling the vacancy by special election, or there is a valid petition filed for a special election, it may be held concurrently with any pending election, so long as it is done within 90 days. The vacancy is filled within 90 days. And since there is a general election coming up in November, it could be held then, so there wouldn't be the need for any separate special election. So there's 2 options for the council today. There's 3 possible outcomes, not to confuse you, but there's 2 options. Either you go ahead with providing notice that you intend to fill the position by appointment, and you don't obviously have to nominate anybody today or do anything like that. It's just putting the public on notice that that's the procedure you wish to proceed with. or you decide to just go ahead and vote as a council to move ahead with filling the position, the vacancy by election.
I have a question. Is that a mayoral appointment with council approval? Okay, tell me how.
No, it's, the statute says the remaining members of the council make the appointment. So
Okay,
Ross Hadley could not vote on that appointment. But the rest of the council, it's done by council. It's not like some of the other positions within the city where it's mayoral appointment with council consent. This is strictly a council vote.
and if you choose to go this way, you have to advertise and allow time for people to put in their application.
Yeah, it doesn't, the statute doesn't say advertise so
Say
much, but
advertise.
it's publishing notice that that's what you intend to do. And I think before the council has, when they have filed that or published notice of the intent to fill the vacancy, they have asked for any interested parties to submit applications by a certain date. So, and that goes, the other part of that is, if you decide to go with filling the position by appointment, you need to decide what council meeting are you going to consider that appointment? So that we can get the notice published according to the right time frame, and you can decide on when applications are due.
But if we,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, but if we go to an election, if we decide to do that, we could get on the November 5th election.
Right, that's the next regular election. Yeah, and I
Right.
did not have time to confirm with Ben Steinis today, but that, looking at
would
the
make-
statute and looking at the calendar,
Well,
that's
it would make
the,
sense
yep.
because ballots haven't been printed yet.
right.
Once, if we wait until, say, we appoint and then we get a petition and those ballots are printed, now we got a special election, which could end up costing us 5,000 to 10,000.
Or we do it in March. but-
I think the statute actually says you got to provide notice to the auditor, the commissioner of elections, 32 days out. So there kind of still is a timing issue if you did the appointment and then somebody called for a special election. There could be. I'm-
Just for,
Yeah.
just for clarity for somebody, let's say you're going to go for the election part.
Mhm.
I believe Travis had said, or somebody had said, you have to let people know that, but they have to go up to the courthouse and fill out election papers. Very much similar to like anything else they were going to do.
Right. I think there's an affidavit that has to be filled out. You have to verify that you're eligible elector. So, somebody who can vote basically for city council.
And that would, I think, if I remember right, the due date for that is like August 28th, I believe.
Well, that's a different thing. That's if
Okay.
for a regular city election, if there's a normal vacancy, there's a deadline. The timeline here for when you submit that paperwork is completely dependent upon how quickly the council acts. And you
And-
basically have 60 days you're supposed to be.
And would they also have to get signatures then? Or is
So
that not part of the,
that's, if you do an appointment and somebody in the public wants to have a petition for a special election, then they have to gather, it's either 200 signatures or I think it's 15% of the number of votes that were cast in the last general election. I think it's usually the 15%. I think it's a minimum. Then there's another floor of like 10 that have to be gathered.
okay,
Yeah, so lesser the two amounts.
Mhm. Right.
Okay, I just want to separate because I want to make sure the dates are clear in my mind. So if we call for a election, let's say that we say we want to be on the November ballot, when would a person have to have all of their paperwork in?
Well, you have to set that date. You,
So we could say, we
But-
wouldn't have to use that August 28th date. So one of my concerns is that
Yeah, I'm with you
it's
too.
vacation time. That's 3 weeks away. I'd like to see it at least 4. That's my only concern about the election, right? Is that this is that would be a very
Right.
compressed time for someone to be like, I'm going to run for council and I got to do all this stuff. And it's August.
so the statute, the only thing it says is that the council shall give the county commissioner at least 32 days written notice of the date chosen for the special election. Now, they
Okay.
use the term special election, but the special election can also happen at a regular scheduled election time.
And since it's going to be a special election no matter what, do we still have to pay if we're on that November 5th ballot? Because
That
yeah.
I don't know.
I think,
I
I
don't.
think Travis said, no, you did not.
Okay.
That's what he said to me.
So,
No,
The other comment, I just wanted to make one comment. I have not submitted my written resignation. I have stated it, but I'm still going to own a home in Decorah. And since I'm at large, potentially I could hold my seat. But I'm only saying this if this is, if it becomes problematic, I can stick around for another month, so we make it to the election and we don't have to have
I see.
something
But you
difficult.
would not consider fulfilling that whole term when you're living in.
No, I
Okay.
mean, I'll still own a home,
So
but
it
I'm,
sounds like
So
if it were 32 days before the November
Right.
election,
Right. There's two parts of the statute that talk about timelines. The special election may be held concurrently with any pending election. It's provided by section 69.12. Those are the regular scheduled elections. If by so doing, the vacancy will be filled not more than 90 days after it occurs. So if the resignation's effective September 1, the general election is November 5th, that's just over 60 days. It's less than 90 days. So you will satisfy the requirements of state code.
But- could Ross stay till, because that was my other concern, right? Could Ross stay till the end of October? And then we have an election and then that seat gets filled, or does he have to resign?
I don't want to opine on that because I've never considered or thought about that situation where somebody has verbally said their resignation and then decided. I always think it's kind of strange when people say, well, I haven't accepted your resignation. Well, we have a constitution that says there isn't, involuntary servitude. So if you've resigned, I don't see that there's any formal action on behalf of the city. With that said, I can't give a definitive answer on whether Ross could continue on beyond.
But he could
September
resign,
1st.
he could submit we know he's going to resign. He could just change the date, right? He could submit a written resignation that says, I'm going to resign, but it's going to be the second meeting in October.
Yeah, I never considered or looked at that type of situation. The statute calls for a vacancy. And if Ross didn't move, he's living here in Decorah and he shows up to the city council meeting, the first one scheduled in September, I don't know that there really is a vacancy, but again, I'm really shooting from the hip on
Is
that one,
that-
and I'd rather not go that way.
is it a required written?
There's not,
notification?
the statute talks about a vacancy. And what's a vacancy? Somebody is not showing up to do their elected position. I mean, Des
We
Moines
don't
went,
have to show up by code.
no, you don't. Des Moines just went through this. If anybody
Right.
followed that in Des Moines, and that was a whole long drawn out process. So I would encourage you to focus on your two options. Either fill it, and you don't have to make a decision tonight. I guess I don't want to make it sound like you have to make a decision tonight. Because the key issue is you've got to fill that vacancy is supposed to be filled within 90 days of the vacancy occurring. So
Well,
if-
actually him stating that he's resigning in his essence is that he's resigning from his position, correct?
you're asking me for a
It is
legal
right.
opinion on what actually is a
Okay.
vacancy. The
Okay.
law states a vacancy. I can't say that, a vacancy occurs just because he says he resigns.
Yeah, Travis
Okay.
told, that's why I mentioned in writing,
Yeah.
because Travis said he needed it in
I
writing.
just,
And I wanted to have this discussion before I did it in writing. It's just like, well, my wife is doing the same
Understand.
thing at Luther at the same.
I can understand that.
Have Officially resigned.
So
I
then
think-
my other question then, because this was the other thing I was gonna ask, is that I didn't know that Ross was thinking of staying, but if he resigns September 1st and there's an election November 1st, could we make an appointment so that the seat doesn't remain vacant for 3 months? So that it would just be a temporary appointment
No.
until the election?
No,
We can't do both.
no,
essentially.
because he fills out or he or she, whoever is appointed, fills out the rest of the term. I can verify but that's not
Oh, I
the way
see.
it would
But if
work.
someone called for a special
Special
election, then
Right,
And-
right.
And
So
just,
in that case, that's where you would appoint somebody and they really would only serve, depending upon, putting aside whether they're actually elected at the regular election, they would only serve until the November 5th election.
well, they're only,
And-
I mean,
and
that
ju-
was
Well, that
essentially what
makes-
happened with my term, my first one in 2019. That's why I was curious, because at least the seat doesn't remain open for 3 months without any representation and make it difficult for
just
votes.
Just for clarification, quick, John, if we chose to go down the road of appointment and then the citizens of the community decide to get signatures or whatever to force a special election, I'm assuming, given the time restraints that's spelled out by the Iowa code, that there isn't time to get it on the November election.
Well,
Or-
there's,
30 days.
there's
for us.
nothing saying here, it absolutely 100% must be the November election, but that would, because because the city council could not take action and for 60 days after September 1st. I'm just giving you, theoretically. And at that point, there has to be a special election. I think that special election would have to occur after the November 5th election because you didn't provide 32 days notice.
Right,
and then,
So
then
my
we would
question
be
is-
charged for it.
Yeah, yeah.
right, just for the cost purposes or whatever, if we put
Right.
it on the November election, it's a free, we don't have to pay anything extra to get on that election because it's a regular election ballot.
That's right. That's the most
If we go
efficient,
till December, then we'd have to pay for a special election.
right?
Right.
Or even, later in
Right,
November.
Right,
It
right.
could be.
Yeah, any other time, other
sure
than
about
November
that.
5th, right?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna go back to her question. Are you confident in the fact that if somebody wanted to put in their, their application for the election, that in this case, they wouldn't have to have that until 32 days before that November 5th?
We're talking we're talking two different things. The 32 days is for the city council to tell the auditor, we want to hold a special election. So you would want, as far as the applications, that's a whole different process as far as the deadline for that person to submit their paperwork. I think it would be I'm not sure of that deadline. We'd have to talk to Ben Steinis about that. I haven't looked at that fine of details because the council has to give the auditor 32 days. Well, if you give them 32 days, there's got to be time in there to take in nominations and print the ballot and things like that. So it's at least 32 days. So
I think
Okay,
I understood that what you said for the November election,
Mhm.
they would have up until 32 days prior to be able to get
No.
their name in.
to notify the auditor of the election. And then the part you're asking me, Mayor, that I don't know
They have
the
to get on
fine
board.
details is what's the deadline for the applicant?
Yes.
Then to
that-
get in their nomination papers. I'd have to look at a different part of the code on that because that gets into state code on the responsibilities and duties of the commissioner of elections.
I think we should, this all became a lot more convoluted for two reasons. One, because you didn't officially resign yet. And two, I am uncomfortable making a decision without knowing the date in which a person who wants to run for this office would have to have their papers in. I need that date in my head.
Yeah, and I could,
So.
well, I
and
can
then-
look that up pretty quickly.
Okay, if we could figure that date out, because then I understand that the auditor needs us to tell them 30 days before that we're having a special election, but that doesn't, that's not if the special election would be with people voting for people, because they would need 30 days to print the ballots. So I can't imagine that we can tell them 30 days and then people can say, oh, I'm going to run, and then they get the
Right.
names on the ballot. I don't see that
You
happening.
know, after you state that, it sounds like they'd have to have them in by the end of August, because then they would be on the ballot in November.
it.
That is what I assume too. And,
To
and
have
that
it by
is a quick
November.
turnaround.
Okay.
Venice.
Okay, we
Sorry.
need to go one at a time.
Sorry, did have a sidebar there, but this is part that I was not involved in any conversations with Ben Steinis yet about it. But it sounds like there has been information given to him, and I have not independently verified this, that it is August 28th to get it in.
I
But-
understand.
Councilperson at all. Do you have information?
So, and then my other thing too, and based on conversation with Travis, as well as just verifying it right now, if we do like a point, and there may need to be some clarification with Ben on this as well, but when it comes to a special election, like if somebody challenged that appointment, and because the deadline passed for the November, you also have that blackout period after the general
Yes,
election
that's right.
where you can't have an election the first 4 Tuesdays after. So that would put you into November, December, January before you could have something.
I remember the
Yeah.
bad blackout.
Is the-
commission too.
Is the deadline August 28th in state code? Or
Well,
is it can we say to the auditor's office, we would like the special election on November 5th, but we want applications to be done?
I think Travis and I should just talk to Ben Steinis and come back to you with
Okay.
the right information. Because I go back to, if this wasn't a general election year, the council has to give 32 days notice to the
Right.
auditor for a special election to fill a vacancy. But the information that some people on the council have gotten is, no, it's got to be put in by August 28th. So I want to give you the right information, and
Right.
I think we just need to come back and you can table these two items.
I would be-
Gotta have it done so that the ballots can get printed for early voting.
I would be,
When does early voting start, anybody?
October 5th.
October 5th. So the ballots get printed up that last week in September so that they can get out. So if we had like a September 10th date.
I think you have,
More than a
I think
month
you have to
from
get
now.
it clarified, because I think. it's-
Yeah, I mean, I have two inclinations. One is that if we are going to clarify this and not make a decision tonight, then we should have a special council meeting just to do it. We shouldn't wait until our next meeting.
Mhm.
It's because I think if we're leaning towards election, I would like to see an election. I just want to see an election that's fair and open to all candidates, that doesn't preclude anyone who's on vacation, or, that's just a quick turnaround. So I would hope that we could clarify these things and quick turnaround, maybe on Thursday or Friday, have a quick meeting to make this decision, if that's what we want to lean to. And then the other thing I was going to say, or we just have a special election. I know we're resistant to
I don't want it to cost 10 grand. That's why I didn't.
10 grand.
It's actually,
If it's
At least
outside of the
a-
general election, it could cost between 5 and 10,000.
right.
It costs us nothing if we get on the November.
Okay, but why would it cost 10 grand?
Well, it costs from 5 to 8 is what I've heard.
I would say, I think the last invoice is right around 6.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, and I guess, just so my own clarification, is your concern about waiting to the November election because you would have a vacancy for, for us, if Ross resigned September 1st and you decided to fill it by special election, and when I say special election, it can be concurrent with the regular election, you in essence would have 2 months of a vacant seat.
No, I don't, my concern, my main concern that I want an answer to is how much time between us calling for the election November 5th and a candidate has to submit their paperwork and get their
Exactly.
signature.
Yeah.
That's what I care about.
Well, we'll find it out. We'll find it out and get back to you on that.
Okay, so then, considering it says, consider resolution, then do we have to make some kind of a
Yeah,
I'll make a
table
motion.
both of them.
I'll make a motion to table both, filling the council vacancy by appointment and filling the council vacancy by election.
do those both have, just a minute, do they have to be voted on?
Yes.
Okay, so then we
Wait.
need to do the first one?
Wait, I withdraw my motion because I have one other question.
Okay,
I think actually a lot of us haven't spoken. Is everyone else leaning to the direction of election? And if not, then maybe we need to talk about appointment because that's a different, if people are like, no, I think we should appoint this, that
okay.
would be different. Okay,
Getting together as quickly as possible, like Thursday or Friday or something like that, to hold a special meeting so we can get this thing clarified. Because like you said, we have a quick turnaround, and people would have to get their paperwork. 28th is indeed the deadline.
28th is a deadline. That is hard.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah, I'm in favor of election as well. I agree that based on some of the points that were brought up tonight, we do need to get some solidified answers, but that is the direction that I would support.
Do you mean being on the November?
Yes, yep, yep.
I'm for having it on the November election. One question I have is, if it was a special election outside of a general election, would that individual start immediately if elected?
Yeah.
And since this is a special election wrapped into a general election, wouldn't they start immediately or would they have to wait till January?
No, they start immediately.
Okay,
Okay.
that helps clarify.
And as long as we're fact finding, please find out if it's going to cost us anything, because I am suspicious if we are calling it a special election that we aren't going to get charged.
Well, no, the statute, this is confusing, but the statute specifically calls it a special election, but then says the special election may be held concurrently with any pending election.
Okay.
So I can't verify that there aren't some type of cost, but it's not the cost of having to, round up a whole lot of extra manpower and print extra, separate ballots and all that stuff.
Okay, that's at the end.
I thought it was middle of September
Yeah.
when we had to get our petitions in.
I don't know.
Which would
We
be
can
beautiful.
find that.
I
That'd be-
think the reason
Okay.
that August 28th comes up is because that's a deadline for a lot of the other positions that are, well, not even federally, but county-wise, like the hospital board of trustees and like some of those subconcurrent ones
Okay.
that don't have party affiliations. So by-
Okay. Now you withdrew your motion first.
I say that we table the special election to fill council vacancy, and by appointment, but then do request a special meeting of council to make this decision.
Second.
Motion made by Neil, seconded by Olson to table and find out more information. Roll call?
Neil,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Hadley,
Abstain.
Parker,
Aye.
Miss Linich,
I,
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Okay. So if you can get that information, Kira, make sure we get the items, questions down so that John can get that information and we can proceed with how we would set that up. Okay, consider resolution establishing complete street principles. And John, are you working with this?
We have to do the other.
Just did the
Oh, that's
appointment.
right. Sorry. Okay. Now we're doing the second one we had to do it separately.
Oh, okay, I make a
Oh, yeah.
motion.
Hold the election on November
Okay.
5th.
Moved by
Wait.
Chisel.
Oh, wait, so we're not tabling? Your motion was to hold it?
I'm motioning to hold it.
Hold it,
Move
okay.
forward and we'll get the information. Go from there.
I don't hear a second. So that
Guys for less.
fails. Okay,
I'll make a motion that we table filling the special election or filling the council vacancy by special election.
How we get more.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll put a date on it until the end of this week, no later, on or before Friday.
Second.
Motion made by Neil, seconded by Olson. Further discussion? Roll call?
Neil,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
No,
Zittergren,
Aye.
Hadley,
Abstain.
Miscelenich,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider resolution establishing complete streets principles. Now we'll bring John up.
The Thursday before Nordic Fest, Bill Smith, the Vice President of Communications for Luther College, sent over a draft resolution for the city to consider because they are making a application to become a bicycle-friendly campus. They're looking for a designation for a grant. And their grant application deadline is August 8th. It's timely to get this resolution passed. Complete streets basically encompass use of sidewalks, bike lanes, multimodal transportation, in addition to vehicular traffic, emergency vehicles, everything that you consider. State of Iowa DOT has a complete streets policy that they use for their paving projects and so on like that, where applicable. And so we modified the draft resolution that came in, and we tailored it to be specific for Decorah, and I think it works pretty well. We sent it up to Mr. Smith, and he said, thank you. It's a resolution. It's not an ordinance, so therefore it's not binding. Yeah, it's I think it's a workable resolution.
Would you say the items on here are what we currently are doing?
Does it say what we are currently doing? No.
Well, I mean, what type of changes would this ensure if we pass this resolution?
So in 2019, I went back in the computer files, and Jeremy Brill had a conversation with the street committee at that time. And they developed something of a street policy. There's a brochure in our computer files and so on like that. There's not a lot of change that would be associated with any part of this resolution from what we currently do in design. And I wanted to make sure of that
Okay,
with our, the way that we crafted this, so that we wouldn't be encumbered with extra cost or putting something in that just isn't applicable in our community.
That was
Thinking
my
about the
question.
hills and some of the other things that are going on.
Okay.
We have to be mindful of our budget and our personnel time.
okay.
Yeah, the should implement complete streets rather than shall,
Mhm.
I think wins it for me.
I think, John, isn't this going to be potentially beneficial to the city of Decorah when they apply for grants as well down the road?
It certainly could be used in that way, yeah.
Okay.
Hadley will make a motion to accept the resolution on complete streets policy.
Neil, second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Neil. Further discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Miscelenich,
Aye.
Zittergren.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider resolution transferring funds to Iowa Governmental Health Care Plan.
This resolution is for the health insurance, the partial funding side of it. Since we have just recently went with IGHCP, we have not had much time to build up our partial self-fund. And we're on our second year of high claims. And so my proposal, instead of piecemealing it, a small amount here and there, we are looking at transferring the 50,000 that will stay in IGHCP's fund, or their account instead of us continuously adding. It doesn't go anywhere. It's used for the same purpose. It's just less transferring of money in
Is it-
smaller amounts.
Is it interest bearing? Is their escrow
We
account,
receive the interest on that.
their account is interest bearing?
Yes.
Is it at a comparable rate to our liquid cash account that we hold?
It's not far under, I will say that.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
There is a spelling error.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Ms. Linich. And there's a spelling error.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Ms. Linich,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Zittigern,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Chisel.
Motion carried. Consider contract approving services between Upper Explorerland Regional Planning Commission Low Income Energy Saving Initiative Project. This came from that grant is through the sustainability. I've been working with Michelle Barnes. And one thing we needed to have it required was that a contract be made where Travis and I both sign it. And so it's being brought before the council. The energy efficient target is for low and moderate. It's one community action that has to do with 2 multifamily, the woolen mill, and then the mini split high efficiency for, let's see, high efficiency for HVAC and energy for free energy audits and coaching for people who are occupied. And that would be in kind. But this is a legal thing that we have to bring before the council for signature.
I will just say that I have been unhappy with Upper Explorerland's performance on the wayfinding project. We're several months past. We've had poor communication. I know that Michelle, who's representing this project and has spearheaded this effort, is not necessarily part of that. But I just want to state for the record that I feel that that their communication and their administration is lacking in some ways. So I hesitate to support providing them with more work when we haven't received adequate results on our existing work. Because when we approved the RFP for wayfinding and we had competitive bids, I specifically asked about Upper Explorerland's ability to complete the things, and they had within workforce, and they've not added more staff. So I'm concerned about their ability to facilitate work.
Has that about that project been communicated to them?
Yes.
What you just said was communicated to them about this. I mean, I think the hard thing is that in Upper Explorerland, it's like with RC&D, right? It's project people. Michelle wrote this grant. I mean, I feel like this is her
Yeah.
project. Travis said he didn't want to do the work and
Right. No, I'm
he-
100% on board with
Yes.
this. I just want public record that
Accept the
yeah, I
statement.
accept that. I appreciate that. I just want to separate the two, but I agree with you.
Funding comes out of sustainability.
It does.
Mhm,
And the grant.
it does.
We already have the grant.
We
It's
do.
already, the work has already begun. This was, remember when Travis sat there and said, I do not want to do this management. And then we
Mhm.
said,
and grant administration, I think they shine at, but
Yeah.
just
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
oh yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the contract between Upper Explorerland Regional Planning Commission on the Low Income Energy Savings Initiative project.
I will second that motion.
Motion made by Neil, seconded by Olson. Roll call?
Neil.
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Miscelenich,
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Hadley,
No.
Okay,
Parker.
Aye.
motion carried.
Can we, what do we need? I feel like Ross brought up a good problem. We either need to add it to an agenda or have,
I think what I would do is converse with Travis.
Okay.
And see how he wants. to work
There's
with it.
also the ADA compliance project that has not been completed.
Okay, then I think especially since.
We have 2 outstanding unfinished projects
okay,
with
I
them.
think especially since you're going to be here till September 1st at least.
at least it's
I'll
like
have
3 weeks.
you talk to Travis. Okay. Thank you. Consider waiving review of Cedar Heights subdivision, 3rd edition. We've talked about this in past council meetings. And we'll bring John back up.
Sure. So in the packet, there is a plat and some information provided by the reviews at the county level. I believe this is being reviewed, being passed along to the city for consideration because it was within the 2-mile limit. I have not been involved with this, so I'm answering questions based on what I've understand from in conversations with Travis and Carrie. But essentially, there is a property up in Cedar View Heights subdivision, which is on Middle Calma Road on the west side of the road. Once you're at the top of the hill there, it's the old, it's the former Ronan House farmhouse. And with that, there are some outbuildings that are built across what would be considered the existing property lines. And what they're looking to try to do is clean up the parcel of property. And Mary Holthouse is selling, proposing to sell land that's in the county to the Travis Growen, yeah. So that he's able to clean up his property lines and so on like this. And so I believe that the waiving of the review of the Cedar View Heights subdivision is just makes it a bit cleaner because it's dealing with one property.
Isn't,
That's the
Okay.
extent of my own knowledge on that.
this is not the property that we said no to the review
No.
before.
Don't think so.
And
That's
so,
farther up the road.
okay, so why are we waiving it? Just because it's a cleanup of language?
It's, well, my understanding is that we're waiving it because the, is a minor subdivision process. It doesn't really involve construction of any nature. It is basically taking the lines and creating a parcel so that the outbuildings would not straddle existing property lines.
It's like property easements.
Pardon?
It deals with property easements.
From what I understand, I believe Travis has already built out there. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think part of what he has built is on somebody else's land. So they're just correcting it,
Mhm.
correcting the land. And I did reach out to Travis and he's recommending to waive it.
Okay, okay.
There's no future plans to build on this particular area or
Not that,
anything?
not that I'm aware of
Okay.
anyway.
Oh, okay.
John, is there any liability to us if we act on this with limited information and limited advisement from our city attorney or city engineer?
Liability, I guess buyer's remorse. You might, if you find out more information, you might not have made the same decision. I guess that's all I could think of. But what I've seen, and I'm just going off of what's in Dropbox,
It's
it
not
does,
much.
it's not much, and it does look like adjusting the lines, but I didn't see the prior plat. Do we have the prior plat? Because I can't to know where the lot lines are. Yeah.
I've not been involved with this
It-
project.
And did the P and Z, did they make a recommendation?
If I understand it correctly, P and Z did not have a quorum, so they could not. make a decision, and then there is a certain timeline with this also. That they, after the application, from what I understand, I think there's only so many days. I haven't been involved either, so I'm just trying to fill in some blanks.
Well, that's for subdivision plats. They have to be approved or acted upon within a certain number of days.
This is a little like, makes me very uncomfortable. I can't even read what they're asking, like the words. I'm like, I don't know. It says lot 1 residential / anybody know what that word is? So it does feel a little bit like we're making a blind decision here on trust, because I really can't tell what we're doing. I hear you, like I understand your words, what you're saying, but there's no indication of that really in the documents that we have.
What is the timeline that they are under if we would put this to the next agenda, council meeting?
If the building, especially if Chopper's correct and the building is already built.
Submit, are you talking about submission? Well, that's what I was looking for. I was thinking it was 60, but
Submission of what? Just
of the
stuff.
application for subdivision plat?
Yeah, I guess I'm so confused why this is a subdivision. Yeah, but it's a subdivision request, but it sounds to me like they're just moving a property line. But that, what I feel like we're approving is the then ability for them to subdivide this land further.
Well, and that I don't have that information either. If they're actually creating a new lot or just adjusting the lines of existing lots.
Right.
That, John, do you know?
My understanding that they're creating a new lot.
Oh, they are creating a new lot. Okay, so that's kind of consistent with what we've done, required before, that if you are, since there's already been lots created here, it requires the subdivision process and council approval. Or since this is within 2 miles of the city limits, it's in the unincorporated area, the council has the option to waive the subdivision plat review process.
Which is what you're asking.
Could they
Okay.
further subdivide this with our approval of this tonight? Or would it just be this, what we're looking at right now?
This is just what we're looking at right now. I mean,
And they
each
could-
time it goes to the county for subdivision, because it's within the 2 miles, it should come to the city council.
Right, but what I'm saying is our approval of this tonight, would that then suggest that they could further subdivide?
I don't
Or-
think you're making an opinion about that.
Okay, so they would still have to come back to us if they were
Right.
gonna do.
What's council's preview on this?
Anybody know the second word next to lot 1? I'm on that
Access-
request.
Agricultural.
That's
Lot
agriculture.
1, so residential accessory, and then lot 2 is agricultural.
Thank you. That's
I
what
think
was
accessory is just spelled. Hadley will make a motion to approve or waive.
I'll second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Ms. Lineage. Further discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Ms. Linich,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Motion carried. Next time when we have something of this order, we may want to have a little more information. It was understandable that you were picking up for Travis too, but just for future reference. Consider final plat of Briar Grove subdivision.
Sure. So the Briar Grove subdivision originally had 4 apartments, and at the last council meeting, you had a discussion with the developer, Echo Development, about taking out the last 2 apartment buildings and putting up 5 townhomes. That's a completely separate conversation than what you had before you. What we're talking about here is a request by the bankers or the developer to clean up the property lines around the 2 constructed apartment buildings, so that number 1, there's a clear demarcation for the bankers to know what they own and in the future for what it could potentially be sold. And secondly, it cleans up any sort of ambiguity for the county for taxation purposes. So they know exactly what lots belong to which property and so on like this. So this resolution deals with the front part of that property with the two existing apartment
Mhm.
buildings.
Yeah, we looked at that property at the last meeting, I believe.
Yeah, there was a, in the packet, there's a aerial photo along with the plat and the meets and bounds. The last meeting had the same aerial, and then it had an overlay of, where the 5 townhomes would be, but that's a
Mhm.
separate discussion.
John, in your opinion, is approving this plat encumber us in any way for access? Because those lots, if I'm looking at the map right, the orange would be area that could be sold again. Is that what we're looking at?
The area in orange.
Yeah, the woods, is that what the bank is asking that they could sell?
I guess I don't have, are you talking to the west side of the property there?
Yeah, it's the very edge. To me, it's
Right.
what they're trying to clean up.
There's some orange on the east.
Yes.
Right.
No, that's not part of the parcel there. That's part of the woodland protection easement, and that is a separate, that's part of the phase 2 part. All the woodlands that kind of go around that.
Mhm.
There's a plat that has just lines on it that doesn't include the aerial photo behind it. And that has a, where it says lot 1, that talks about the area that is being addressed.
Is that in Dropbox?
That aerial thing.
This area right here, John. Oh, you're talking to on the west side then, not the east.
Well,
You're talking this little section.
Mm-hmm.
That section there. We're talking about.
We don't have your map.
Well, that's this section right here.
Which portion, Randy?
Yeah, we only have,
This section right here. Yeah. Okay. There.
Yeah, where the orange line is there. Yeah.
and all we have is a map.
So whatever it is would be access from Sweet Parkway Road.
Yes, all of the apartment buildings would be accessed from Sweet Parkway Road, and the
I understand the townhomes that we approved last meeting.
Yeah.
Or that change of concept of development agreement. My concern is that if they're looking to sell land out of this parcel for other purposes, that we have the existing infrastructure, and making any changes to this plat doesn't necessarily encumber us or jobs for more infrastructure cost.
Yeah, I would think that, and John, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, if you have utilities that run or access easements that run with driveways and parking lots, and they are looking to sell off their lands, or currently one owner owns that property. And if they sell the front half, it would be incumbent upon them to transfer easement for access and utilities to the back half.
Yeah, they would want to retain an easement. If they're keeping the back half that is not along a public road, they would need to have at minimum an access easement and also utility easements. Now, the plats might already have utility easements on there, but they wouldn't have an access easement right now because they don't need access. I mean, they've got access to the public road.
So on the, it's a little bit one of those things where there's the preliminary plat that has all the easements, it has all the different layers of sidewalks and roads and things like that. And then they clean it up for the final subdivision plat and they take all of those things off for the recording purposes.
Yeah, and they just might not have gotten to that point where they're putting on paper the actual easement locations. But before well, they're not selling it. They're just,
They're cleaning it up for legal purposes.
yeah. I don't know if that's for the bank. The bank might be requiring that so that they have mortgages on the separate buildings and lots. But even in that regards, I would, well, not required, but I would think that they would maybe put an easement on there in case they had to foreclose on a back lot. There wouldn't be an issue of access.
So I guess I just want to be clear that if we're approving a final plat, if we're looking at something and we see lots that do not have infrastructure on them, we are not beholden to put that infrastructure there because we approved this plat.
That's my understanding that you are not responsible for the cost of doing these plats.
But I mean, the infrastructure there as well.
Yeah, well, I think that the structures are currently being designed, so it's the attorneys are the ones that are driving this this end of the trying to get this recorded or finalized, I believe, so that the bankers can release additional funds to be able to do the back half of this project.
And I was going to say, unless the development agreement says anything, the city usually just has to put the utilities in the right of way. It's the property owner who's responsible from getting it from the right of way to the building.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we consider final plat of Briar Grove subdivision.
Parker seconds.
Motion made by Neil, seconded by Parker. Further discussion? Roll call?
Neil,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Miscelenich,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider C3 design application, David Lester and Amalia Watts at 11 Winnebago. Who's giving information on that?
Just the information is in the Dropbox of what they're looking to do. Decorah Historic Preservation voted 6-0 to pass it.
That's in relation to the damage they had on their building and how they're going to replace it.
Correct.
Correct.
The description's also in the Dropbox of their plans.
There's also pictures or design of what they have.
I'll make a motion to approve, sorry, I make a motion to approve the C3 design application.
I'll second.
Motion made by Neil, seconded by Ms. Linich. Further discussion? Roll call?
Neil,
Aye.
Miscelenich,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider an ordinance amending Title 6 Animals of the Decorah Municipal Code, and that's a third reading.
Make a motion to pass the ordinance amending Title 6 Animals of Decorah Municipal Code.
Second.
Motion made by Neil, seconded by Olson to pass a third reading of the Title 6 Animals of the Decorah Municipal Code. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Neil,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
No.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Parker,
No.
Miscelenich,
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Motion carried. I think the two noes have stated previously how they felt. Discussion on noise ordinance. I know that this was something that Travis was bringing back, doing some work and bringing back. I think there's some examples that are listed. My question is if you want to discuss this or wait till he is back to discuss it.
I'm okay waiting until he gets
I
back.
have no problem. We're waiting.
Yeah, we can-
Travis get back.
Okay.
So we can have a full discussion on it.
Discussion on downtown parking. This was brought before the council, I believe, by Zittergrun and Parker. You want to give some information and then Steve can give some information?
Yeah, a month or two ago, we brought it up and we spoke about downtown parking, especially in the back in the city lot where the Hotel Winneshiek parking is, and other city parking lots that are downtown that have no 2 to 6 parking. And it's there's a lot of residents that are downtown and I've been approached about possibly looking at getting some permits. So people that have residences in those apartment complexes upstairs would be able to get a permit to park in those parking areas between that no 2 to 6, so they don't get citations. And also that would not apply in snow emergencies. So in a snow emergency, they wouldn't be able to park there. My thought would be, and speaking to some people that live up there, they're like completely open to paying the city for some sort of permit, a yearly permit to park, to be able to have a slip just like we do with Hotel Winneshiek, and that they can put it in their vehicle that says, I'm a resident here, I'm living here downtown, and please don't ticket my vehicle between the hours of 2 and 6. And
2 in the morning to 6 PM.
yeah,
I mean,
or it's
2 AM to 6 AM.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it would definitely help out the residents that are downtown. I know residences that have moved out of downtown just specifically because of the parking issue and having to go park their car at the 48-hour lot and walking back and having kids, and it's kind of created an issue. And I did reach out to Steve, have him second, because I remember he did express his opinion or interest in this topic. So,
Steve, do you have comments?
Yeah, nothing too much in addition to what Brent said. I think it's important for the council to have this conversation because it seems like this is a can that we've kicked down the road over the past, I guess, as long as I've been on council. We've discussed the desirability of offering, to downtown residents the option of paying for the parking that they need to assure themselves of a safe off-street spot. I think that it's worth exploring further. I don't know how helpful the conversation is going to be this week as opposed to waiting a few weeks when Travis can weigh in too. So I'd be open to waiting a few more weeks on that. But I think this is, it's an important conversation that we ought to have that gets to the question of how do we want to shape our town, especially our downtown, and also, how can we, I guess, best serve residents who want to be part of our vibrant community but don't have off-street parking on their own. So I feel like we have a gap in the services we provide there, and we could maybe do something a little better than we're doing it. So looking forward to the conversation.
Some thoughts?
My thought is that I think we can move beyond conversation. I guess Travis will read our minutes. I guess I would like to see at our next meeting a draft of what we could be offering for parking spots. I mean, I think we've had this discussion.
Yeah.
When I saw it here and you started talking, I'm like, I thought we already made that decision.
yeah. And
So I guess I'm ready for some action on it. I agree. I think we need permitted parking downtown at an affordable fee makes sense. And I think it's best left to streets department and the police department and Travis to figure out what makes the most sense in terms of where those cars should be and when and how that works. But
And John, if you check with Jess, I think they actually had it. I think they've already picked some spots where permit parking could be potentially. I think they already had it mapped out. So, you know, if we direct staff to come back with a proposal, you could act on it pretty quickly.
Are we just
Randy?
the
just a
north
minute.
app?
Randy?
Before I'd be comfortable doing anything here, I would like to have a plan for snow removal. To relocate, kind of like we do with alternate side parking, have a different place, maybe that they can go park for that time while get the big equipment in and clean, and then they move and we can clean, because we all know if we get a snowy winter in that back lot, you start trying to shovel or plow around cars.
Yeah.
And they build up. It's a
And obviously, you know, in my proposal is if it's a snow emergency, your permit no longer is valid. I mean,
I think we need to come up with something
Yeah.
that.
so
puts
what
them from
would,
one end of the parking lot to the other for that emergency, and then they go back and then we can clean that other end.
What do we do with the hotel wind cars?
They put a,
No, I know, but what do they do during a snow emergency?
and I think that's a lot of the content with some of the people down there that, you know, there's Hotel Winnebago that has their vehicles, which is great. I mean, I do think that should be that way. But when, you know, people that are living downtown, who have shops downtown, they're having issues with their parking ability, and just would kind of like to see similar to what Hotel Winnebago is doing. I do think snow removal would be a challenge. But at the time though, if it is a snow emergency, that no parking between 2 to 6 would no longer be valid. They wouldn't be able to park there. So the plows would be able to come through and plow. Outside of Hotel Winnebago during those times, I think.
Do
they
we
just
know
kinda-
what the policy for Hotel Winnebago is for removing snow?
I think it's the street department just kind of plows around them.
So maybe when city staff is working on the policy, they can include something for snow removal. That makes sense with the street department.
Yeah. And just a thought idea too of how do we regulate who's living downtown or whatever. Obviously you have building owners, who's on water bills, who's paying the water in that residence. And that's kind of a good way to regulate that, as far as like, well, I live downtown. Well, how do you know, if you live downtown, if, you know, building owners and who's paying
Right.
the water and that.
And I
That
think
would-
we'll have to do, and again, city staff, I would direct us to figure out how many we should allot per apartment. Right?
Yeah.
And that would be my question. Are we just talking about residents of North Alley, or are we talking about residents that live on the south side, on the other side of the street?
I think it should be,
Water
yeah,
free.
it should be
Downtown.
all of them. I think it's definitely harder for the ones that
Mhm.
are, you know, on the opposite side. They don't
Right.
have.
well, we know that the Happy Joe's Onenson building units aren't going to have off-street parking. So we need to be proactive
Right.
and get it done
And there's
sooner
a lot
than
of
later.
apartments on that
Yeah.
side as
Yeah.
well.
And we talked about
Down the street.
that by that fairway, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those.
So perhaps we could have Travis and Mike and Carrie come forth with some ideas on how to work with that.
Yeah, please. Great.
Okay. See, we still have an opening on the Decorah Human Rights Commission. Then Carrie, do you have anything? Okay. Department heads, anything? Yes. I don't think that's working. You may want to just come up here. Thank you.
Just bring it to your attention about the server I need to purchase, because of the cost. Carrie reminded me to bring it to your attention. Secondary server that we're going to be looking at purchasing, right now is 34,000. For our VM environment, it's replacing the stuff we bought in 2016. So, it was end of life, and I put it in the capital improvement project and stuff, but just because of the cost, I'm coming to you to let you know that we are looking at purchasing that now with this fiscal budget. So, I don't know if I need to make a.
Tell me
formal-
the old one was hit with lightning.
No, we did have, I don't know if you heard, we had some issues down here. We've had a few things, just not enough to even turn in for insurance, but a few phones and a access point and a couple ports and a switch, but nothing. Well, law enforcement has had some issues with some radio stuff and communication stuff, but not IT stuff very much. So
Along with the additional work you've had to do with Microsoft issue that recently happened?
yeah. So,
Okay.
all right, thanks.
Can you give a quick update on fiber? I've just lost track of where we are.
Yeah, actually, Travis is off today. We got some bounce backs, and I think we were hoping this week to have a follow up with the legal side of it. And the draft RFP was reviewed by legal, sent back for some corrections. It wasn't a no, it was like, hey, you need to make some modifications and corrections, and then the dates weren't in there, and that was the other thing. So they have done that. Supposedly they're sending that to us this week for a secondary review to send back in. So once those two things, so hopefully by the end of this week, depending on Travis's and Carrie's schedule. So this week or next week, we should have probably a formal answer on a couple things. The legal side of it was also they're wrapping up the operator agreement as well.
Okay.
So that's been happening behind the scenes as well. So we're getting a little bit closer. It's just a few little slowdowns here and there. So
Thanks.
Okay,
Mayor, we should probably set another meeting then for this week.
okay. That sounds like a good
Any
idea. Do you have a
suggestions on-
suggestion?
Thursday, the 8th, would that work?
Thursday or Friday?
Thursday works for me. Friday does not work.
What time you think?
According to our rules, it'd be 5:45.
5:45, okay.
So we'll set a meeting for Thursday,
At 5:45?
August 8th at 5:45?
Yep.
Okay, and that will be with the answers that,
It'll be
John will have-
probably to act on those two motions that we tabled.
right.
So
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, I think I'll go this way. Emily?
I guess I would just give a shout out to the hatchery. I had something more, but I'm going to let it be. I'm going to give a shout out to the Decorah Trout Hatchery because I've been working there all summer long. And I will say that of all the things that I learned this summer, including stocking fish, I had no idea how many people visit the trout hatchery. And I think being a council person and recognizing that destination and how many people come there on a giving day was very helpful. So I just wanted to shout out to all the good work that happens at the trout hatchery and just to draw people's attention to that is a huge tourist destination in our community. And I think the figure that they say is that every fisher person that comes to our community is worth they spend about $40 within our community. And it's like a $1.5 million endeavor.
That's
So
great.
pretty impressive.
Thank you. Ross?
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Randy?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Steve Zittergrun?
Thanks, Mayor. Just while Emily's giving kudos out, I'll add to them. Nordic Fest was terrific, and huge thanks to all the people in the city that made that possible, from public safety, the fire department, police, and also the streets department and public works. It was successful, and I just can't say thank you enough to all the people that make it happen.
Thank you. Kirsten?
I would just second what Steve had said. The weather was perfect for Nordic Fest. I saw a lot of people downtown. They were well attended at the opening ceremonies and throughout the weekend. We had a lot of relatives I know in town, and they all thought it was a wonderful fest. This Monday, my wife and I will be representing the visitor center down at the State Fair. We just do it for one day nowadays, but hope to sell our wonderful community to the rest of the people in Iowa that'll be visiting the State Fair and bring a lot of tourism into us.
I appreciate you taking the time and effort to do that. Christopher?
Nothing tonight.
Parker?
No, I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay, if there's nothing else. Okay, thank you very much.